NBL Now is back for another week, Tuesday after round 11. Fascinating round that it was. Joel Peterson with you, along with Southside WNBL star, a certified procurer of points, Alice Kunek. Morning, Al.
Good morning, JP. How are you?
Very well, very well. All the better for being with you to talk some hoops. The story that everyone's talking about is this amazing Bryce Cotton run. It was right on the top of the agenda for Jack and Derek on Moments That Mattered yesterday. I think it's right on the top of the agenda for everyone in terms of what they're thinking and seeing around the NBL right now. What are you seeing from Bryce in his 3-game outburst?
It's absolutely incredible. There's no two ways about it. What he's doing is amazing. And we know that putting up those types of shots is an effort in itself. But to make them at such a high percentage, the way he's making them at, and there's also a little factor that comes into play when you go over 30. It's like Russian roulette in the morning. It's like waking up like, what am I going to get this morning? What body part is going to hurt today? So the way that he is playing, he is over 30. We've discussed that. He's playing with such confidence and such vigor. The way he's making those shots, it's tough to make those shots.
Yeah, he's having all kinds of fun out there right now. In the first game, I mean, I called the first of those 3 games. He has 59. You think, wow, like that's incredible. And then it was, oh yeah, I wonder what he'll have. And we sort of joked when he said he might have 50 again. Or he went damn close, and then he pretty much did it the next time out of asking. It's amazing what he is doing at the moment. There's a little bit of chatter in the last little while about whether an NBA opportunity might be coming for him. Do you think that'd be good for the league to see someone who? So we've got all the young guys who are coming and going to the NBA at the moment, which we know is a certified pathway. We've got the next stars, but then the ability to come to this league, to stick around, to do your thing, ply your trade, dominate for several years, and still maybe have that pathway back. Do you think that's a positive for the NBL?
It is a real positive for our league to show, look, we are such a force to be reckoned with, and look at the types of players that we continue to produce week in, year out. Type thing. For us to lose a player like Bryce Cotton would be, I guess you could say, devastating, because he's such a great talent in our league. Week in, week out, we see him just do absolute brilliant things. So for Bryce, absolutely be amazing for the league as a whole to say, hey, look what we've produced. But I think for the Perth Wildcats and for the NBL, it'd be really sad to see him go. But, but Bryce deserves that opportunity. I think he's been really deserving of that opportunity for a lot of years. Interesting to see why it didn't happen. But if it could happen, it'd be amazing for Bryce and his family.
Yeah, I think we can all be a little bit selfish and say maybe we don't want to see him leave our competition, and the Red Army would certainly be thinking that, but it would be pretty incredible if it was to happen. Before we get sort of stuck into some other topics, one thing that stuck out to me, just sort of looking across the landscape of the NBL yesterday, was the standings. It seems like there's a lot of teams who are finding form, a couple of teams who are on the slide. You think of Tassie, you think of Brisbane, you think of Adelaide sliding back with Davis and Harrell and DJ out in the last couple of games. You've got Melbourne, who are on top 12-5, Illawarra 9-5, so they've played 3 less games than Melbourne, and they're 2 back in the win column, but 3 back in the win column. But essentially, they could win their next 3 and get to that same mark at 12-5. But from Illawarra with 9 wins and 5 losses in second, down to Adelaide, who have also played 14 games and are 6-8, there is 3 games between second and 9th. So it takes one bad weekend or one good weekend, and your fortunes can change drastically. Then Cairns are 10th, 3-12, but that log jam at the moment is absolutely crazy to see so many teams sort of jostling for those top 4 play in and then the bottom spots.
Yeah, look, it's pretty exciting. And I think the Melbourne, Illawarra, Sydney, potentially the Perth, they might stay in that top 4 category. I think if they can get injuries, if they don't have injuries, they can stay healthy. I think they're going to be the top 4 front runners for me. That's really, I think that's what I predicted at the start of the season. New Zealand, we know they're struggling at the moment. That is tough for them right now. And we are going to talk about Southeast Melbourne and Tassie, but I think Tassie getting Sean McDonald back, they're going to string together some wins. They're playing really good brand of basketball. We know the defense that they play. We know how Scott Roth puts that team together and how they normally play. So I think we're going to see them get a little bit more wins. Brisbane were really impressive on the weekend against Melbourne United. I was super impressed by that game. Trez comes back for Adelaide. Cairns, I got no comment there. I'm just going to smile. But it is a bit of a logjam in the middle bit. And I think it's really anyone's game. I think it's who can stay healthy, who can keep significant players out of foul trouble during big games and big moments, and then who can get rolling at the right time. And the Christmas period we know is a busy time. There's a lot of games in a short amount of time. And if you can get wins in that Christmas period, it's going to go a long way to make that top 6.
Yeah, and staying healthy is going to be a key part of it. But the matchup, you've got New Zealand, you've got Southeast Melbourne, Tassie, Brisbane and Adelaide, who can all find form in one way or another, and 5 into 2 just does not go. So how that shakes out over the back end of the season is going to be absolutely fascinating. You wanted to chat Brisbane, so you were there on Sunday. I was there on Friday. They looked on Friday, they gave Adelaide a few chances, but it was really impressive that they closed it out. And then we still sort of had some doubts about how they would travel down to Melbourne on Sunday. What did you see from the Bullets on Sunday afternoon?
Oh, I was more than impressed what I saw from the Bullets on Sunday. Melbourne United is one of the premier teams in the competition. Yes, they didn't have Chris Goulding, but they still had the likes of Dellavedova, Shea Illy, Jack White, all their main players playing who are great defenders. They just had such a great display of scoring. They shot the 3 ball at nearly 60%, I think. They had a great inside presence in Harrison. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nearly 6 players in double figures. That is absolutely incredible. Their bench players didn't give them too much, but their main starters, you could tell they were playing with confidence. They were moving the ball well. They were shooting the ball well. Everyone was up and about. They really silenced a Melbourne United crowd. It was really impressive to see. If they can keep playing in that way, moving forward, they're going to be a force, and especially getting home wins and getting away wins. That's even bigger.
Yeah, so, of course, the stat yesterday was, so Prather and Cook both have 27, Bateman and Harrison both have 25. So they've done all this without Josh Bannon, who is kind of their sort of de facto number one option on offense and the guy whose image they've built this team in. So when they get him back, do you think they can sort of, have they done enough now, similar to what I guess Perth did without Bryce, to be able to put him back in and be better around him?
I think with Josh Bannon, he had missed the first part with injury. He came back. He looked a little bit out of sorts. He looked like he was trying to force a little bit for me. He was trying to find himself in the team. He's obviously just had that run of injuries. And when you have that annoying run of injuries, you're just trying to almost do a little bit too much to get back to where you were. I think for Josh Bannon, he honestly just needs to let the game come to him. They're playing really great basketball. If he can come in, get the easy 2 points, offensive rebound, run the floor, shoot an open shot, he doesn't need to force anything. They put up 114 points. So we know they can score. We know they can shoot the ball. But in saying that, everyone needs to be shooting at a really high percentage, and you need Casey Prather to be healthy. You need him to be firing. You need everyone to be firing on any given day. But I think if Josh Bannon, when he comes back into this lineup, he can really find and pick his moments when he can score. So get that rebound, set a great screen, roll, because they do have such an outside presence. So if he can be that inside presence with Harrison, this team, they can really go a long way.
Yeah, a little bit of a challenge for Justin Schuller to mesh it all together, but it's a good problem to have at the moment. Just speaking of Casey Prather as well, just a little birdie telling me maybe Pete Hooley's special guest on Players Edition of NBL Now tomorrow. So keep your eyes out for that one. Montrezl Harrell is back in Adelaide. He landed yesterday. Will Crouch from Channel 9 caught up with him at the airport, and he said he had no regrets about what happened a little while ago. He was, defending himself as a player. And it's good to be back. He got to spend some time with his kids over Thanksgiving, and now he's back and he's ready to go for Adelaide in their next game. How do you think that they will get him sort of reacclimated to the team? Because they wasted no time getting Kendrick Davis back. He had 37 and 11. Will it be as easy with someone like Harrell? Do you expect that that's just plug and play and away we go?
I think it is. I really hope that Montrez has gone home over Thanksgiving, done some meditation, done some calming. We love his emotion. We love the way he plays, but he has to keep it in check moving forward. We want to leave that situation behind, but moving forward, this team needs him to stay on the court. We love the energy. We love the passion, but moving forward, they need him on the court. So I think they will. I think they'll assimilate him in really well. We saw what he did as soon as he came into the league. He was pretty effective and efficient straight away. He brought a hype to Adelaide. Everyone was getting around him. I heard he's a great teammate. He brings such a big inside presence, and we see they are missing that. So I'm sure he'll be assimilated right into that team, that 1-2 punch with Kendrick Davis himself. I'm sure they'll be looking at him straight away to come in and really produce for the team because right now they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they play in the early game on Saturday, and they play the New Zealand Breakers, who are on the slide a little bit as well. So, I mean, if they can pinch a win back Adelaide and start moving back toward that 500 mark, that'd be big. New Zealand will come in and they'll be pretty hungry as well. Two guys with NBA experience, of course, Taco Fall and Montrezl Harrell too. So that could be a really fun matchup.
Oh, how much drops can you see on a game? Let's hope how much drops defense can you see?
Yeah, it's hopefully not too much. Let's get them up and protecting the ball a little bit. On New Zealand, they're in a bit of a conundrum at the moment. They just, for whatever reason, they do not seem like a happy team. And you can pin that on one thing or another, but whatever they had at the start of the season, they have lost, and they have lost it in a big way. They were flat out uncompetitive in the second half against Melbourne on Thursday. They weren't a lot better against Sydney on Saturday afternoon. And now they go to Adelaide into a sold-out venue that's a really tough place to play against a team that's been brilliant at home so far this season. Have you been in a situation in your pro career, Alice, where there's been a mid-season move or something's happened in the middle of the season that sort of unsettled a team that was going well? Can you relate to what New Zealand might be going through at the moment?
Yeah, it's tough in New Zealand. It's really a tale of two seasons for that team. The way they started going over to America and then, coming back and having that string of wins, everyone kind of thought, oh, look, this is amazing. And it was amazing the way they were playing, but they're really struggling right now. There's no two ways to put it. They're missing Bolden. I think losing Freddie Gillespie was really tough for the New Zealand Breakers. He is a high-level EuroLeague player that has played in the EuroLeague. And although he didn't give you 20 and 20 every single game, he played his role within the team. He knew when to set screens. He knew when to hustle. Once he worked out his foul situations in games, he knew how to stay in the game. And I think losing him really hurts. And yes, they've got a mid-season move. I've definitely been in that situation more times than not in Europe. And it can be really challenging for a team because you get used to playing with one person and the way they do things on the floor and they fit into the system. And learning a system, you're not going to learn a system overnight. It takes time to learn what the coach wants, what your teammates want, what they expect of you. You're also in another country, so you're learning totally different things there as well. But then to have a different player come in that is very different to Freddie Gillespie, I think that's probably the really tough thing that they're experiencing right now. They had Freddie who was up, he could do a hard show, he was banging bodies, he was pushing the floor. Taco, he's not doing that. He's in that drops defense. Teams are attacking him. And if I was a guard in that pick and roll, I'm sorry to say I'd be going at him too if he was in that drops defense. So, and testing that knee. So I think they are in a bit of a challenge. And like I said, having Bolden out, that's really tough for them because that's another player that can stretch the floor. I think I looked before 1, 2, 3 players in double figures. You're not going to win many games. And I watched that game against Sydney Kings and they just looked really out of sorts. Players throwing it out of bounds, throwing it into the crowd. They just look like they've lost their way a little bit. But we know that Cop will bring them back and he'll challenge them and push them. And that's what it's like as an athlete. You're going to have really highs and lows in the season, and it's up to you to find your way out of those highs and lows.
Yeah, it's really good perspective. And for Petteri Coppinen, it's sort of a big job at the start of his professional coaching career, and he's handed this challenge. What he does with it could be the making of him as a coach potentially. So it'll be interesting to see. He seems like he's got the metal and the minerals to go through with it. Wanted to finish on Tassie because they're at a really interesting spot at the moment. So they're 7-8. They're one game above or below 500, past the halfway point of the season now with 15 played out of a 29-game season. And they just look like they're finding their mojo. They've strung a few wins together. They're a team that's got a pretty favourable run in the next little while, and they start the round with New Zealand on Thursday. Are you seeing positive signs from Tasmania at the moment with Sean McDonald back?
Definitely. I called that game on Thursday, and just the way they look as a team is just night and day to what we were seeing at the start of the season. They've got pace about them. They're playing, they put up 90 points, and historically, they don't really put up 90 points on the board. So the way they're playing with Sean McDonald in the point guard, it just allows that freedom for everyone else. It allows Milton Doyle to play a little bit out of that point forward role, but there's just that little bit of heat off him. Jordan Crawford came off the bench. If you can have him firing off the bench as well as Drimmick, that's just, that's great productivity of those two players. And we know Will Magnay's in that all NBL form right now. He's vertical on the rim. He's pushing the ball. Defensively, he's getting steals. He's finishing. He's getting upstairs. So I think if they can get rolling, historically, we do know how good Tassie teams are. Yes, they don't have McVay, but that gives the chance for other players to step up. And a player like Sean McDonald can come into that role. He can be the point guard. He can score. He can settle the ship a little bit for that team. I think they're going to be rolling. I think they're going to push some teams, and they're going to be pushing for that top 6.
Yeah, I think when it's all said and done, they'll be right around the mix. And it's just, who else is there and who, especially among those matchups of those teams. So, Tassie in New Zealand, Adelaide, New Zealand, when they play Southeast Melbourne, when they play Brisbane, they're going to be the really key games to watch over the course of the season. If you can pinch 1 or 2 against the big dogs at home, that'll take you a long way to where you want to go. Alice, always good to talk hoops with you. Thanks for your company this morning, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, JP. Have a great day.
Alice Kunek with you on NBL Now. Thanks for your company. NBL app, nbl.com.au, and of course, Pete and Casey Prather back with you tomorrow.